Hey everyone, I'm Fred Ranger and I hope you're doing good. I finally made my choice in terms of lens for the new Sony A7 III. And by the way, I am keeping some of the Fuji gear that I have. I sold the X Pro 2, that's what I did. Some of you in the comments were going crazy saying you are totally insane going from Fuji to Sony. How can you do that? Guys, relax, it's just camera brands. So I like to experiment, I like to report back, and I like to compare the gear that is at our disposal to tell our stories. So please keep it respectful in the comment below. So going back to today's video, I am so excited because I got my first Sony lens and it's right here, guys. Decided to go with the Sony Zeiss FE 1.4, and oh, look at that, guys. This is exactly like Fujifilm. I was a bit surprised when I saw that they have some clicky, or if you want to turn it off here, non-clicky aperture ring. So this is very familiar to shooters or to Fuji shooters, so I won't be too destabilized bringing that lens on. This is a 35mm, like I said, 1.4. I want to go prime. I want to go wide open with that full frame sensor. So why don't you come along? I will be bringing, so this is the only lens I have, so I'll be bringing that lens with the A7 III. I will also be bringing my little trusty Canon. Oh, look at that, I shoot Canon too. But this will be for video, this will be for vlogging. So why don't you come along and see and test that new 35mm Zeiss 1.4 with me. I am going to a festival here in Montreal called Mile X and it's full of cool bands like Bar Brothers and like Pop and a bunch of others. Broken Social Scene is there also. So let's go shoot some pictures in the streets of Montreal at Mile X in 1, 2, 3. Let's go. So we just arrived in the Mile End of Montreal. This is a beautiful neighborhood of Montreal. Lots of trees, beautiful streets. Very calm. Really love Montreal. And we are back, guys, into the Ranger bunker. So excited because if you notice a difference in the video quality at the moment, it's because I hooked up the A7 III on a tripod in my current setup and I'm in love with the picture quality. I am also using, as you know, the Zeiss 1.4. This is my first Sony lens and I'm in love with the bokeh. And the last thing I want to mention is the color profile I'm using. I'm not shooting in S-Log. I'm actually applying one of these EOS HD profile that you can download online for a very minimal fee. I think it's 27 bucks, 35 bucks Canadian, and I'll leave the link down below. You should definitely check that out. Andrew, who makes these profile, really understands color science, and he brings the Sony cameras to a whole nother level, and that's why you're seeing that level of quality. One thing though, I am shooting in 1080p, and I struggle a bit with the 4K right now. I'm trying to understand how to put the info up on the screen, and also how to get that face recognition that seems to be working very well on the 1080p mode. So if you know a trick on how to get the face detection and the information up on the screen, please leave the comment down below. But for now, let's go to the computer. I want to share with you a photo that I took in this very low light situation at the festival. Lots of different light situation. I want to walk you through how I took the shot, and also what were my settings, and ultimately the little edits that I did in Lightroom. So let's go to the computer. So we are now in the computer in Lightroom, and I wanted to show you some of the shots that I made yesterday with the Sony A7 III, and why I'm so excited about this camera body, not just for video, but also for stills. So the first image I want to share with you is a well-lit situation. This was under a bridge going to the festival we were going to. You can actually see the Fuji X-T2 right here. But the point of the video is that look at this focus that was acquired through the eye autofocus. You can actually see myself right there shooting. I think it's actually a very cool photo. You can actually see it on my Instagram feed. But the point is that the eye autofocus actually works through sunglasses, and I don't know how Sony does that, how they recognize, you know, the portion of the face that makes the eye, but this is a very interesting thing from a technological standpoint, and you can actually also see the bokeh and the detail of this raw file. So I really like what I'm seeing here in terms of the quality, but also how this photo was basically acquiring focus, or the camera was acquiring focus easily through the sunglasses. It can become a lifesaver when it comes to autofocus. I was using autofocus continuous because at the end of the day, if you want to use eye autofocus and the model is moving a little bit, it needs to be able to capture that eye. So small edits that I made, I mean, this is how I would edit this file. It's the edit that ended up being the one on my Instagram feed. So a couple things that I did, I mean, I brought up the exposure, brought the contrast down. I mean, if you look at 0, it's a little bit too much for me. Played with the highlights. You can actually see how much information you can recuperate from the highlights if you look at the background here. This is a very workable raw files, and I was kind of missing that from the Fuji film files. Not that I don't like the files. I think I can get very decent results with the raw files, but the way Lightroom was treating the Fujifilm raw files was not the same as Sony or Canon or even Nikon. The shadows is another area that this camera allows a lot of stops to play with, and I did that right here by bumping it up and so on and so forth. This is another area I really like to play with, saturations of different color. So yeah, that was kind of my edit. One other interesting thing is that the Zeiss lens that I was using actually plays very well with Lightroom because it comes with its own profile that's built in. So it's built into the file, and it's gonna apply some correction for chromatic aberration, and it will also corrects any distortion that the lens might have. So this is a very neat feature to have. You don't have to apply it manually. It's already there. You can actually see it here. Sony A7iii 35mm 1.4, and it's all done automatically by Lightroom. So this is the first photo I wanted to show you. Very happy about this file. It was easy to shoot, and it was interesting to see how the autofocus was working. Another photo was one that was not as well lit as the other one. The sun was going down, but you can actually see the bokeh right here, and kind of the noise on the file. Or this one was a little bit off, but that was my fault, I think, because I think on that one I didn't use the eye autofocus. I used only the face detection. I did not hit the button that I needed to hit to. I'm still learning the quirks and the actual buttons on my camera, so this is always normal. There's always a learning curve, and that was definitely one shot. But this is just one example of a file that I would take and that I would put into black and white, and look at the quality of this file. There's really something with these files that I immediately fell in love with, and again, some of the people are telling me that full frame doesn't have anything to do with the rendering of the image, but I don't know, there's something very unique in these files that I'm already liking. I think I'm gonna shoot a lot with the Sony moving forward. Again, I'm not getting rid of the Fuji gear, but I must admit that I'm impressed by these files. This is the edit I would do for that file. Of course, saturation down, and a lot of other things that I applied. So the last one is one where there was virtually no light, and this is a shot that was, if we go back here, and if we look at the actual metadata, this was shot always with my 35 1.4. We were at ISO 1250, so this is a kind of a high ISO file, but again, if you look at the quality of the file, there is some noise. If you let it load here, there is some noise, but still it acquires focus on the eye, and as you can see at 1.4 doesn't allow you to get a lot of depth of field. Actually, it's a very shallow depth of field, so that eye's in focus. That one is starting to get a little bit blur off. So I really like the quality of this file, and even in low light situation, I think the Sony is doing an incredible job at rendering color and being a very workable file even at ISO 1200 and so on and so forth. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, I am still discovering this camera, so this was just kind of an intro about the first couple shots that I took, but please put the questions down below if you have any tips for me, because I want to grow, and I want to grow fast with this camera for video and for stills. Also put it down below. I've been Fred Ranger. Be happy, enjoy life, and enjoy your gear and photos and videos. Do it now. Cheers.